If you are a real estate investor or you want to be a real estate investor and you're looking for funding for your deals, not relying on banks, not relying on mortgage companies, not relying on hard money lenders, then don't go anywhere because I'm getting ready to plug you into the money right now. Hello there, folks, and welcome to another episode of Real Estate Investing with Jay Conner. I'm Jay Conner, known as the Private Money Authority. And if you're new to the show, we talk all things real estate. We talk about how to find deals unlike other real estate investors. We talk about how to get your deals funded. And as I mentioned just a moment ago, I'm getting ready to plug you into the money. Before I do that, I just want to remind you that I have amazing guests and experts that come on here to the show with me. Today is no exception. I'm going to be introducing her in just a moment. But before I do, I've got a free gift for you. You see, I just released my new book, which is titled Where to Get the Money Now. And the subtitle is How and Where to Get Money for Your Real Estate Deals Without Relying on Traditional or Hard Money Lenders. Well, now you can go over to Amazon and pay $20 for it plus shipping, or you can just let me give it to you for free. Now, I'm going to be totally transparent. I am going to ask you to cover a couple of bucks for shipping and handling, but I will send you the book for free. So you can get this book. Go right on over to www.jayconner.com/book. That's jayconner, jayconner.com/book, BOOK, and we'll rush the book right on out to you. Well, I tell you, I'm so excited to have my guest on today. And here's the deal. When you hear the word foreclosures, do your ears perk up? Well, they should, because what's going on in our economy these days, there's going to be a massive opportunity to help a lot of people and profit from this foreclosure avalanche that's coming. Another question, do you dream of owning your own business? Do you ever think about being financially free? How about taking the best vacations in the world? Well, let me tell you something. You are in for one big treat today, because my special guest that I'm going to be bringing on is America's most sought after real estate investor. And yes, she's going to be the guest today. Well, she started out as a broke single mom who had been fired from Denny's. Can you imagine being fired from Denny's restaurant? Having nowhere to go but up, she started rehabbing foreclosures. So my guest and I, we have got a lot in common to talk about. Now, you want to fast forward to about 30 years down the road to now. She is insane. She's got an insane amount of investing knowledge, and her unique open style and down-to-earth personality make her a very highly sought after podcast guest. That's why I've got her here on the show. So she's agreed to answer any real estate questions that I'm going to throw at her. Well, she's responsible for making tons of students financially free along the way. She loves to share what she's learned, and she's created a very simple business motto, and that is people before profits. I love that. She's written 3 bestsellers. She's been a celebrity guest, and she is a celebrity guest expert on Fox and Friends, MSNBC, local news channels, Naomi Judd's morning show, and has been featured as a guest on many TV, print, medias, podcasts, radio shows, and even more. So her latest book was also a New York Times bestseller written with Steve Forbes called Success-onomics. Well, Mr. Forbes chose her to help write his book because he also considers my guest to be one of the nation's top real estate investing experts. Well, my guest has closed over 2,000 real estate deals through flipping and rehabbing, and she is the founder of Dwanderful.com. You're going to find out where that name comes from in just a moment. And that is a company that specializes in teaching real estate investors how to become millionaires and live their dreams. Her current project is huge. She and her family basically bought a town and are restoring the whole town. We can't wait to hear about that. So she's going to be telling us that story. In addition to that, she also has a top-rated podcast, which is called the Most Dwanderful Real Estate Podcast Ever. So you want to be sure and follow her there. So it's my pleasure. I'm so excited to have here on the show with me today, real estate investing expert, Dwan Bent-Twyford. Hello there, Dwan, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Jay. It is so good to see you. Can you hear me?
Hello there, Dwan. Are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
I got kicked off the internet there for just a second.
So I said it's so good to see you, Jay. I've missed you.
I have missed seeing you too as well. In my lands, there's been a big change in the market since we saw each other a few years ago, right?
I got to show you something. Look at that.
I am impressed. You've still got my business card.
This is the most beautiful business card I've ever laid my eyes on. And I keep it in a little plastic thing in my book because I'm like, I want to see Jay someday. I want him to see I've got your card. So now that I've got Dwanderful, I'm going to totally steal and copy this concept.
Oh, wow. You go for it. Well, look, I'll introduce you to
beautiful.
I spoke with my business card representative this morning, and yeah, they're solid brass business cards.
Look how good shape it is. I keep it polished up. I'm like, oh, there's my man Jay.
I love it. Well, Dwan, I want you to tell the audience, I mean, Mylands, you've been in real estate and been investing for a number of years, but how'd you get started?
So I actually started when I was 30. So shockingly, I am 62 years old now. So it's really been a long time since I started investing. But, you know, I was married. I had a baby. She was 8 months old. And her dad and I kind of suddenly split up. And so now I've got a baby. I don't have any job skills. I mean, I've literally been fired from Denny. So I have clearly no job skills. And I just decided I needed to figure out a way to make money and to raise my daughter because I really didn't want to put her in daycare. So really, Jay, that was sort of the deciding factor for me is I had waited till I was 30. I was going to raise kids. I was going to be like the homeroom mom, the mom that makes the cookies, the Girl Scouts, the brownies. And suddenly being single with no help and no money and no income, I was, you know, thrown into a really dark spot. And so I just really set out on a path looking for something that I could do and work from home and raise my daughter. And I found real estate investing.
Awesome. So in the introduction, when I was bringing you on the show, you've got a ton of experience in foreclosures, rehabbing deals, and et cetera. So I want to get your take on this. So, you know, we had COVID come along.
Yeah.
And we've had foreclosures, you know, on a stay or put on a pause. What are you seeing over the next, say, year or two? What do you think real estate investors should be focusing on to really be aware of, you know, the times that we're in and you know, what strategy should they be employing given what's going on?
Yeah, that is such a good question, Jay. I don't think the general public recognizes that when the bank keeps postponing the mortgage, it doesn't mean that the bank is going to automatically, I mean, you got to remember, this was last March until now. We're 15 months into people not having had to have made mortgage payments. And I don't believe the bank is just going to stick all the payments on the back and say, okay, make your payment in July. So what's going to happen is the bank is going to want all the payments now, and people aren't going to have them. And so it's going to cause, I keep telling people it's going to cause like a tsunami of foreclosures because the bank has everybody in a forbearance agreement. Now, I know that you know what a forbearance agreement is, but for the listeners that don't, when you're in a forbearance agreement, that means that what happens is the bank takes all the back payments and they divide them up over maybe 12 or 18 months and they add them on top of the mortgage payment. So you're going to have all these people that have a mortgage payment that was $2,000 and now it's $750 because they divided the payments over 18 months and now it's went to 2,700, and people aren't going to be able to make their payments.
Exactly. So, you've been tracking and watching the foreclosure market for many, many years. In today's market, what is your best way or your favorite way to actually reach out to these people that are either behind on payments or in foreclosure, to communicate with them to offer a solution to their problem?
Well, I think one of the easiest things especially for a new real estate investor, is to get online at the county courthouse. The county courthouse shows all the people that are in foreclosure. And I understand there's like a moratorium on actually foreclosing on people, but that doesn't mean people aren't getting placed into the foreclosure process. So you can find online, not online at the courthouse, you can find all the foreclosures, the people going through divorce, the people filing bankruptcy, the probates. You can find all of those people online, and it's free. So for someone that's new, doesn't have a lot of money, doesn't have a lot of experience, free is always great. Free is great. But what's happening is a lot of people are literally just moving out of their houses, and they're moving back with family, and families are starting to live together again. And people are just walking away because they're not going to be able to catch back up. So that's going to cause two things. It's going to cause short sales to go crazy again, because the banks are going to have a kajillion houses sitting there that with people that are in foreclosure, and it's going to cause the bank to do loan modifications, which is where the bank runs your credit, checks if you have income, make sure you have a job, and all that, and then they may take the payments and put them on the back and get you back on track, but you have to qualify for that. So if you're still on unemployment and you're making less or part-time, you're not going to qualify. So that's going to put people in a situation of being in a forbearance or in foreclosure or just walking. So I'm telling real estate investors, the top two things I feel is subject tos and short sales.
I agree with you. I haven't done a short sale in years, quite frankly. And like you just said, if somebody doesn't know how to work the short sale process, or at least have a real estate agent or somebody on their team to negotiate short sales, they sure need to get educated on that. I'm sure you would agree.
Right now. I've been doing a lot of webinars lately telling people, listen, there's a short sale wave coming. And it's kind of like the 2008, like it's not even like you need to get prepared. It's already here. Like right now, this is one of those things where, you know how they have all those like multi-level marketing companies and people go get in on the ground level. And then, 5 years later, it's already blown up. We're at a situation where we have like a brand new ground level today. Like this is the day, not wait and see. Let me see how the market, let me wait 6 months. Let me see what's going to happen. Investors need to be investing this very minute. And the fact that you can help people raise private money, you put those two things together, and the money aspect and the millions of foreclosures and even the short sales, and that's like a perfect marriage.
Yeah, you're right. I tell my students, like I'm sure you tell your students as well, you mentioned subject to. So if the seller of the house cannot get their payments current, they're going into foreclosure, well, that's the perfect way to fund that deal, is to buy it subject to the existing note. And so for the sake of all of our listeners here, why don't you give a 60 to 90 second seminar on what in the world does subject to mean?
So, I'll do my best. It's really hard to like crunch it down into like a minute, but the gist of it is you find a homeowner that's behind on payments. They cannot catch up. They did not qualify for a loan modification. The bank is going to take their house, and you make a deal with them basically where they deed their property to you. And then if you can make up those back payments, you can just start making the payments and you can keep it for a rental. So you're owning the house without having to actually get a mortgage for the property. So for investors right now that have a little bit of cash, you come across a homeowner, they're like, hey, listen, I'm 15 months. I can't make it up. I don't really care. I'm willing to walk away. You give them a couple $1,000s and, cash for keys, moving money. They deed their house to you. You're the owner. and you turn it into a rental or you offer it out. What I do is offer them out as seller financing. Owner financing. So I find a new person that really wants a house, but they can't qualify for the bank, but they've got the money and the income now, and I subject to it. So it's sort of a little bit complicated for a new person, but the gist of it is this person that owns it can't keep it. They're willing to deed it to you, and then you can make it a rental and an income producing property for yourself.
Exactly.
Just by signing that deed and you're the owner and it's all done. It's a one and done.
Right. You know, one of the most common questions I'll get from new real estate investors that's never heard of that strategy, they'll say, well, who in their right mind would agree to deed me their house and keep the mortgage in their name, and I tell them I'm going to make their payments? Well, the answer is a motivated seller that is looking for debt relief.
Yes. And that's probably the number one question I also get. And I tell people, I say, like to a brand new student, I would say, listen, you have to understand, you're not in that situation. That person doesn't want to lose their house to foreclosure. If I make their payments every month that I make an on-time payment, their credit gets better. So if I say, hey, Jay, deed your house to me, I'll make payments, and in 5 years, I'll refinance it, take your name off of it and release you of the obligation. And I make all the payments on time for 5 years. You had a foreclosure, you were doing bad, then you have 5 years of perfect payments. Your credit's great now. So it helps them reestablish their credit opposed to letting it go to the bank and going through the entire foreclosure process, which, as you know, gives them a foreclosure on their credit and knocks their credit score down like 150 points. So a subject to is a benefit for them. Of course, as long as the investor makes the payments. So, I tell people, listen, if your motto is not people before profits and you're a scumball, don't do this.
Right. Exactly.
So it's a good thing for the homeowner, and it relieves them. They just, they're at the point where they just want to leave. They're like, I don't even care. I just want out.
Exactly.
They don't think that way. But it is I'm sure you get this almost the same question all of the time.
Exactly. So just to make sure everybody understands, if someone's in foreclosure, but their house has not gone to sale yet at the courthouse steps, then buying it subject to the existing note is the preferred way for you to buy it. Now, you got to have the cash flow to bring those back payments current. And of course, you can use private money in a small second position if you don't have the cash yourself to bring it current. Now, you mentioned private money a moment ago, Dwan, and that is, there's another kind of foreclosure. And the other kind of foreclosure are what we call bank-owned properties. So it's too late to help the people then, right?
Yes.
Because now it's gone back to the bank, and with an REO, or real estate owned or bank-owned, can't buy those foreclosures subject to because the seller's not in the picture. So that's where we have to use the private money, of course. So
I'm sorry. So I just jump in real quick. So one of the things that's great about private money is if someone finds a homeowner and they're able to do a short sale, and you have a $200,000 house, the bank agrees to take $125,000, you have to buy the house. And a lot of investors are like, well, I don't have the money or the credit or this or that. And that's why they need a private money, because the bank's like, hey, I'll take 50% of the deal, but you're not going to make payments to us. You have to buy it. Exactly. And then you can flip it, you can rehab it, you can do whatever you want to do with it, but you still got to buy it. So I'm always telling people, you've got to find private money if you want to play in that section of real estate investing. Someone's got to step up and give you cash.
Exactly. So I got another question for you while we're on the topic of foreclosures. So we know how to locate these. I mean, there are people that their houses are in foreclosure, hasn't gone to sale yet. It's public record. So what is your preferred method or methods of contacting these people? How do you get up with them? Do you knock on their door? Do you mail them a letter? Do you skip trace them? Do you text them? What do you do?
I got to tell you, it's been 30 years. I still like to go door knocking. And I know people are thinking like, oh, if I have to door knock, I'm not going to do it. But when you show up at their door, nobody does that. And people psychologically think like, oh my gosh, they're going to be mad. They're going to scream. They're going to yell. They're going to slam the door in my face. But people are so grateful and they're so happy. And they're really like, oh my gosh, someone came to try to help me. I can't believe it. So I still like to go door knocking. I still do it today. That we just bought 15 buildings in Iowa, and we went and talked to all the people in person. None of them were listed. They weren't the MLS. We went and talked to people in person. But I also understand that if you're hearing me say that and you're like, oh my gosh, no, I'm not door knocking. You could mail postcards. I guess postcards would be the next best thing. Send the people a postcard and let them know that you have a solution to their property problem. Don't have a postcard that says, I buy houses cash. Have a postcard that says something like, are you facing foreclosure? Question mark. Behind on payments? Question mark. Did COVID, mess you up? Question mark. Going through a bankruptcy? Question mark. I have solutions for your property problems. Call me for a free consultation, and let me see how I can help you. So postcards would be but a soft postcard. I hate when people say, I buy houses cash. I see you, call me. People are looking for a solution, and they don't need to feel like you're some investor that just wants, I buy houses cash.
Right.
So I don't like that approach. I feel like when you make a card that says, hey, are you in bankruptcy? Question, going through a divorce, unwanted property? Question mark. So like, yes. Oh, a free private consultation. Okay, let me just call and see. So it's a soft opening.
I love it. Well, and what I love
then they'll spill their guts and tell you what's wrong.
Well, what I love about you, Dwan, is your motto: people before profits. And I say all the time, if you're coming to the table with a servant's heart, genuinely interested in the other person, it's always going to pay off. And like, for example, when people respond to our letters, and we have a series of 8 letters that are soft, like you're talking about, that are people in foreclosure. When they respond to our letters and get on the phone, one of the first questions we ask is, do you want to keep your property? Do you want to keep your house? And if the answer is yes, then we tell them up front, we're not attorneys. I'm not certified in any kind of way, but I do have a lot of experience in giving people ideas on how to help keep their house. So we got a list of 10 ways that we go over. And guess what? If they end up keeping their house, me and my team get nothing out of that direction. But you know what? What goes around comes around. How many people you think they're going to tell?
What? It's so funny you said that. We have this thing called the Fed Up package, and it says, are you fed up with foreclosure? These are your 10 options. And the 10 options, the first one is loan modification, because that's usually the first thing the bank asks for. So it's got a loan modification, forbearance agreement, equity partner, short sale, subject to bankruptcy, keep your house, real estate, sell it. It's got all these options. And that's what we tell people too. Like, listen, we're just going to help you buy time to stay in your house, or help you stay if we can. But if we can't, then we're here to buy it from you. And I agree with that so much with what you say, because initially, they're not usually like, oh my gosh, I want to sell my house to a real estate investor. They don't know what to do. So when you offer them the help and the questions and you help them, I agree with you. You do the good, and then the money comes. So if you don't make it about money, the money will come.
Now that's a writer downer right there. If you don't make it about money, the money will come. In fact, you know what, Dwan? Every time, and I can look back over my entire business career, anytime I have gotten involved in any kind of venture, and my primary motive and only motive was the money, never happened. I mean,
they fall apart, don't they?
Well, I never got off the ground, like, back in the, 30, 40 years ago. I mean, shiny object syndrome, the multi-level marketing opportunity comes along, and I'm chasing it. And the only thing I'm chasing is the money. And guess what? The more you chase money, the more it eludes you, right?
Yeah, it does. It's funny. I tell people, and I say, listen, I'm an open book. I said, when I did my first couple deals, my husband was in jail. So I had a husband in jail. I had a daughter. I had no income. I had nothing. And my first few deals were completely about the money because I didn't have any. And I also went through a foreclosure and I lost the house in foreclosure. So the very first like 2 deals, I was just like, okay, how can I help this person? I got to make money. I got to make money. I got to make money. But it only took me like 3 or 4 deals to recognize, especially because weirdly enough, my first like 10 deals were all with single women. And I thought, they're going through what I went through. I just need to help them. I wish somebody would have helped me. And if I help them, it'll be okay. So it only took me 6 months to recognize if I make it about the money, it's not going to work. If I just help these people out, I'll make money because, you reap what you sow. So, but I mean, my very first deal, I only cared about making money to feed that baby. And I did a very fair deal with, we did an equity split on my first deal, which is insane because I didn't know what I was doing. With a handshake, we made a deal like a hug and a handshake. Okay, we're going to split the money. And I was like, what was I thinking? But, I didn't know. So thank God it worked out. But yeah, within just a few months, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to help people and I know that I'll make money. And I never worried about the money after that. Like never again did I worry. 30 years later, I never worried about the money.
Exactly. Well, I got one more question for you before we wrap up. And here's the question I'm really interested in, because I mean, you are an expert on door knocking and, being right there in person. Yep. What is your approach when you knock on the door? I mean, even down to the detail of, do you step back down the steps? Do you stop, stay away from the door? What happens when you knock on the door, and what's your like bullet point scripting when they answer the door?
That is such a good question. So basically, I usually have I have something in my hand, like a clipboard looking thing, and I got my pen, and I'm like, they answer, I'm like, hey, Mary, and yes. So I have this clipboard, and on it is actually all of the foreclosures. So I print them out so that their name is on a list, and I can physically show them this list. And I just say, hey, my name is Dwan, and I'm a full-time real estate investor, and we specialize in helping folks that have a problem with their property. And I'd really like to know what I can do to help you out, and what have you done so far? Just that simple. And they'll say like, oh, I don't have a problem. I say, well, see this list right here? Your name is on here. So this says you have a problem, but it could be wrong. But let's just talk about your situation. And then they'll say, well, I'm behind a couple payments. And then I hand them my Fed Up with Foreclosure package. And I say, well, these are 10 options that you can do to try to buy time to stay in your home or sell it if you want to. And these are your options. Let me give you free information. So it's a 30-page packet. Here's some free information. Let's talk about some of these options and see what you've been doing and see what we can do to make things work out. So by handing them that information packet, it takes first of all, it takes the pressure off of me to conversate with them. It also takes the pressure off of them to be like, oh my gosh, why is this woman at my door? And we're looking at this paper and we're talking about, did you try a loan modification? Did you try a forbearance agreement? Did you try this? Did you try that? And then they open up and they'll start talking to me. So it's really as simple as just like, I specialize in helping folks like you solve their problems. I want to know what I can do to help you out. And almost always, I don't have a problem. And I'm like, well, I've got all these foreclosures right here that I printed from the courthouse, and there's your name right there. So maybe it's a mistake. So let's just talk about it for a minute. And they open right up. But I do step back. I do step back because, it's COVID. But I step back anyway because a lot of times it's just a woman answers the door. And if you're right there, you don't want to scare the person either. So I step back about 3 feet and then I talk. And once I hand them the information, they just blurt out everything that's happening.
Right.
I got crazy hair and my crazy husband, and you know how Bill looks, and everybody loves us.
So do most of them invite you in?
Sometimes, yeah, they do. Typically, I don't. I used to always just go in and sit and talk with people, but I find out what happens is when they invite you in, you end up sitting down with them for 3 hours and they're telling you all the things that are wrong and why they're not a loser and how this, they don't know what happened. And if they don't work with you, you wasted so much time.
Right.
So what I say now is, and it's not that I don't want to listen, but I've had that happen to me hundreds, thousands. I've had it happen to me thousands of times where I spent 3 hours with someone that didn't work with me. And I can't like give them a seminar, So now what I do is I say, hey, listen, I'd love to come in and talk, but I have to talk to all these people on this list today. Let me get your phone number and I want you to look at this package and I'll call you back tomorrow.
There you go.
That way it's like, it's short, and they can look through the package. I call them the next day, and then on the phone, I can get more to the point. Do you want to move? Do you want to stay? What's your financial situation? How can I help you?
Yeah.
So I don't go in anymore. I did for like a decade. And then I'd be in there, and they're like making me tea, and we're having cookies, and next thing you know, it's like, oh my gosh, I've been here 2 hours. What am I doing? So I had to stop doing that because I like to talk, and then they like to talk, and next thing you know, it's like the next day.
Oh my word, mercy. So, so you get their information, you follow up with them. So now your average visit is what? 10 minutes?
Tops. 10 minutes tops. Yeah.
Because it sounds to me like your objective is to give them the packet and get their phone number. Yes. And you're pretty much done.
I'm done. I'm done for today. My objective is to get a phone number. Even if they say, I don't want help, or I'm not interested, then I say, well, let me leave this information package because it's free, but let me have your phone number so I can double check and see why your name is on this list. Mm-hmm. Now, technically, I can't get them off the list at the courthouse, but I could certainly call the courthouse and say, hey, is this person scheduled for foreclosure? So when I call them back, I say, look, I called the courthouse and you got a foreclosure sale date in 90 days. So something's going on. What do you think about the package? And I can talk to them. So my objective is to get a phone number, call them back, let them read it, actually make a phone call if I need to. But I want their phone number because I just can't stand there and talk like I used to. I learned to value my time, and I also learned that people want to talk, and it doesn't mean they want to work with you. Two different things.
That's excellent. Well, look, I know you got some free gifts. You got 4 books that you want to give people. So let's tell folks how they can stay connected with you.
Okay. So all they have, so my name is Dwan. So my website is Dwanderful, like wonderful, but Dwanderful. So if you just go to Dwanderful.com, so it's DWANDERFUL, Dwanderful.com, and opt in. I've got 4 free ebooks. One is the book I wrote with Steve Forbes. One is a book my husband wrote with Dan Kennedy about marketing. One is about short sales, and one's about how to flip houses. So I got 4 free ebooks that'll get you on the path and at least expand your mind and understand a little bit more about this foreclosure side of real estate investing and go from there.
Well, I tell you, Dwan, the books are very, very timely with what's going on in our market. So again, folks, you can go over to www. And that address is www.dwanderful, that's spelled DWANDERFUL.com. Again, that's www.dwanderful.com. Dwanderful. Well, Dwan, thank you so much for joining me on the show. What a treat to have you on.
Oh, thank you, Jay. You look so great. I'm so happy to see you. You just look great.
Well, I appreciate it so much, and you do too. Well, look, we'll stay in touch, Dwan, and thank you so much for offering the audience the wonderful gifts that you did. And so, folks, there you have it. Another episode of Real Estate Investing with Jay Conner. I'm Jay Conner, the Private Money Authority, wishing you all the best. And here's to taking your business to the next level. I'll see you on the next Real Estate Investing with Jay Conner.